What is something ridiculously nice we can do for our partner, BF, GF, just because we love them? Years ago I wrote a short letter to my wife, mailed it to her work address. In the letter I told her I loved her and listed the reasons I still loved her. The list was something like this: intelligent, honest, compassionate, funny. I listed about 20 traits that I loved. Years later she purchased a new purse and I noticed her moving that letter to her new purse. The paper was a little yellowed and had obviously been folded and refolded. She must still read it from time to time. Make whatever you do personal, and it will mean the world to her. I am getting married in 4 weeks. My fiancé is a mess. I am going to do that for her just to make sure she doesn't forget why we are getting married. What a great idea. When my dad was in law school, my mom dressed up in a gorilla costume and busted into his class unannounced. She then got up in front of everyone and asked where my dad was. He was sitting in the front, absolutely mortified. My mom then gave him a box of chocolates and said that she loved him and gave him a kiss in front of the entire class, and then left. That is simultaneously the best and worst story I have ever heard. One of the sweetest and most romantic things I've ever seen was actually something my dad did. For about the first 20 years of being married to my mom, he would buy her flowers every Friday. Every single Friday. It was the sweetest thing. At the end of every week he'd take the time to go to the florist and spend some money just for her. They weren't rich, but this was one expenditure that he thought was really worth it. I remember him picking me up from school when I was a kid many times and we'd go out and shop for the flowers. I'd ask him why he was doing it, since it wasn't a special occasion or anything, and he'd just say, "I'm buying them because I love your mom and want to show her that," and that was enough. I don't know why he stopped. They are still married and as happy as ever, but maybe after 20 years, she told him that he didn't need to do it anymore. At this point, they both know that they love each other. Our frugal just had a heart attack. My dad always said that an unexpected gift at an unexpected time is key. It's not the big anniversary or Valentine's Day gifts that people remember. It's the out of the blue, thinking about you type gifts that make people feel special. It doesn't have to be big or even store-bought, just a thoughtful surprise. About a week ago I mentioned to my GF that I like to draw even though I suck at it. I started drawing some pictures with my mechanical pencil on the back of scrap paper. Well, yesterday I come home from work and she says she got me something. It was a sketch pad and a set of drawing pencils. I love her so much. If I wake up first, I bring my boyfriend a cup of tea while he's still in bed. It's small but I think he appreciates it. Thank you for reminding me that I had water boiling for tea. I once put a sticky note on virtually everything in the house, stating why I love it. I love this lamp because it lets us read together at night. I love this TV because we watch our favorite TV show on it. I love this table because it is where we share dinner conversations. I love this door because when I hear it open, I know you are walking in the door, etc. I love lamp. I make breakfast for my lady every weekend morning. We get up and shuffle to the kitchen island and she usually reads or just wakes up with some tea while I make her pancakes or toast and eggs or whatever she feels like that particular morning. I love it. My guy always cooks for me. I try my best to help but he's a proper kitchen renegade, haha. My GF and I started a journal together. Since we don't get to see each other often, we write about our day and just random stuff in that journal. After a week we switch off. The other person gets the journal and continues it. It's nice to read what the other one wrote and it's like love letters in book form. My BF and I are in a long distance relationship and we have a journal that we mail back and forth every few weeks. Since we only get to see one another in person every few months, it is lovely to get an actual, tangible thing that we know the other person has touched in addition to non-tangible things like Skype. On cold nights, I go to bed a few minutes before my wife and lay on her side of the bed. When she crawls in, I move over leaving her side toasty warm. It was my wife's birthday yesterday. Instead of getting her one fancy expensive item, I wrote down all the little things she's mentioned over the last few months and bought them all. Scanner, new pens, a sketchbook, a magnifying glass, a travel mug, a gym bottle, headphones, lip balm, etc. When she woke up there was one gift, a box with a card in it. On the card, a rhyming couplet, a clue to the location of the first gift. Attached to that gift, another card with another rhyme clue, and so on. For all 14 gifts. I've never seen someone so goddamn happy in my whole life. Amazing. Teach me some listening skills. My husband got me a mug that has a chalkboard surface. He makes me tea and then draws pictures on the mug. It's so adorable and takes no time at all. That is an awesome gift. I bought my husband BlizzCon tickets as a surprise for this upcoming event. I couldn't care less about games of any kind, but it's something that he greatly enjoys. I bought the tickets back in May or June and I worked it out to where I got him off of work without him knowing. Hotel, activities, flights, the works. I had planned on keeping it a surprise till October, but every time I looked at him I started giggling wildly, so he knew something was up and ultimately got it out of me. And I must say I am so excited to go because I know how much he is excited. Upvote specifically because I'm the recipient. A long time ago my girlfriend was depressed, and she was in the hospital after an incident. I was just her friend then, but loved her like crazy, and I went to visit her every day. The one day, I drove about a half hour away to get Dippin' Dots for her, bought a cooler and some ice, and drove them back to the hospital as a surprise. I still think those Dippin' Dots are the foundation of our relationship. LOL. The boyfriend of the future. Is there anything I can do to make my boyfriend more inclined to want to do sweet things? I myself am a hopeless romantic. I care a lot about everyone in my life and try to go out of my way to show them. However, my BF never seems to get the concept. We've been together on and off for almost 6 years. Does the fact that he hasn't done anything like these posts say that something is wrong? When my wife was in graduate school, I used to pack my wife lunches and put notes in there with her lunch. Furthermore, I'd have a dinner pre-packaged ready for her whenever she got home. When I was married, one morning before I left for school while he was still asleep, I left about 10 little notes around the house. They would say things like "I love the way you make me smile" or something like that. I numbered the notes from 1 to 10 and underlined one word in every note, so that when he found them all and put together the underlined words correctly according to their number, it would spell out an 11th note. The marriage probably fell apart because the 11th note said "be sure to drink your Ovaltine." Personally, I really appreciate handmade things from my boyfriend. It really means a lot to me when he stretches his comfort zone just to do stuff that he knows I'll like. Examples. He often has had difficulties talking written about his emotions, so when he writes me love letters it means a lot. When we realized we were going to be long distance for a while he sewed me this tiny pillow. He can't sew at all really, with an imprint of his hand on it so I can hold his hand whenever he's not there. It looks pretty stupid to the outside eye, but knowing the story behind it makes me just love it, and him, so much. I've got something in my eye I think. I was abroad for business and flew back 18 hours to celebrate her birthday, picked her up from work as a surprise, got a nice dinner, had steaming sex and then flew 18 hours back the next day. After our daughter was born, my wife and I decided we weren't going to have any more children. Well, lo and behold, about a year later my wife changed her mind and did in fact want a second child. We'd been discussing it for many months and I still wasn't convinced. Last summer my wife was away for a week and I was in charge of our daughter. During that time I realized that in fact, yes, I did want another child. So, me and my little girl picked out a locket and put inside a picture of us and a little note that read "in room for one more." I will always remember the look on my wife's face when she realized what that little note meant. My wife and I live about 2,500 miles away from family. Last year she was feeling really homesick. As a result, when Christmas came, she didn't feel all that cheery and was pretty down. We generally carpool to work as we work close by one another. I took her to work and then came home. I set the tree up and put up all the Christmas decorations. It took all day. Then I went to pick her up from work. I didn't say anything on the ride home. When she opened the door the tree was on. Candles were lit. We live really close to work. Christmas music was playing and I had a fire on the iPad. Cheesy, I know. She was very happy. My girlfriend loves cold coffee in the morning, and I usually stay out later than her, so I brew a pot or two before I finally head to bed and put it in the fridge. The next morning, she has an ample supply of coffee for the next day or so. I'm about to pop the question in less than 2 weeks. Let's hope she'll say yes. Mega good luck. I know it sounds strange, but I keep fresh flowers on my boyfriend's desk whenever possible, even if it's just a daisy or carnation. I think it says I was thinking about you when I put the flowers into vases and wanted you to know. Once, I called as I was on the way home and he said he was out of Mountain Dew and had a really bad day at work. I picked up 4 12 packs and a dozen roses. I know buying a boy flowers is silly, but he smiled and seeing him happy was totally worth it. I also write him love notes and leave them on his desk when I know I'll be working late. Honestly, anything you do that is thoughtful and not on a special day should be welcomed. I know buying a boy flowers is silly, but absolutely false. Flowers are great gifts for anyone, especially just because flowers. Get home before her, clean the house well, cook a nice dinner, and take care of anything she needs for the evening. Have no expectations for the evening other than making her happy. But then she came home with takeaway food. I play her music on piano with the door open while she sits on the balcony reading a book. It's music I hear in my head when I think of her. She knows that. The username makes this a lot less romantic. Sending them mail. I'm abroad and my boyfriend sent me a care package of hot sauce and wheat thins, 2 staples of my diet that I cannot get here. 3 him. I leave small, handwritten love notes in places my wife will eventually find them. She's found them up to a year after I planted them. Every time, it's like a love landmine. My boyfriend once played a song and we slow danced in his room. I cried like a baby. I was overwhelmed with love for him. Whatever you do, I don't think you have to be elaborate about it. One morning, the girlfriend was in a crappy mood and snapped at me a couple times. I was mad about it at first, but instead of bringing that home and starting a fight, I bought her flowers because she was having a bad morning. Mad boyfriend points. I figured out that I could leave my girlfriend voicemail messages so that her phone wouldn't ring. I did this by calling the number of her wireless provider's voicemail center and entering her number, so I would leave her romantic voice notes which she'd find and listen to after work. Sing You're My Home by Billy Joel. It is off one of his earlier albums, probably mid-70s. She has probably never heard it. Every year, I make my wife an Easter basket and fill it with moderately expensive chocolates, etc. I never admit that I did it and always attribute it to the Easter Bunny. I have done this for 26 years. I feel like she's figured it out at this point. A few months ago, my girlfriend had an operation on her stomach that has since left her with an embarrassing problem. At the instant that she falls asleep, she poops the bed. Like, the exact second she slipped into REM sleep, a little butt turd pops out. The thing is, she has no idea that she has this problem because I haven't told her. I simply crawl into bed with her, pretend to be asleep until she actually falls asleep, and then slowly and lovingly carry her tiny, odorless turd to the commode. This is simultaneously the most considerate and least romantic thing in this thread. P. Do something with your so that they know you aren't fond of, simply because they are. The key is to make sure that they realize this is something you wouldn't ordinarily do without making them think you want something in return for it. If you're sincere, it's not hard, but be careful not to seem suspicious for doing it. This is a really good one actually. Plus, not saying you owe me, even jokingly, if you have to do something for him. Probably a year ago I set up a candlelit picnic by the beachside for my boyfriend just because I love him. I had him wait in the car at night just beyond his view just so I could set everything up. This included a radio playing some tunes, some sushi, his favorite food, and some drinks. He thought it was really sweet, but unfortunately all the candles blew out due to the wind. I guess it was the thought that mattered, right? Anyway, it was a really romantic moment and one that I will probably remember forever. I'm clearly less romantic than I ought to be. Taking time off work to clean all the things, make the bed, do the laundry and put some few flowers around the apartment always does the trick. Also, favorite foods in the fridge and or cooking her favorite meal. Unexpected lowering of stress levels is the best gift ever. Don't be so hard on yourself. If it's something that makes your lady happy, then that's never wrong. Lowering stress is always appreciated. When my girlfriend broke her ankle playing tennis, I pulled her in a wagon all around town and down to the park near her house so we could play with her dog. Whenever we were inside, I would carry her up and down stairs, and basically I was her legs for 2 weeks until she could put weight on it again. I find the best thing to do for your GF is to make them something. It's better than buying gifts, because if you make it, it means you spent a lot of time and effort on doing something just for them. I'm not very artistic, but sometimes that comes off as kinda cute, I guess. My boyfriend is not artistic, and it makes anything he makes for me even more special. Sounds cheesy, but sometimes just getting your sew a card with a heartfelt note is more than enough to show your appreciation to them. You could also try cooking a special meal for them. Maybe make her breakfast in bed. Girls love a guy that can cook. To show my fiancée that I truly love her, I just have to clean the toilet. If I do that, she promises to forever be with me. A very long time ago, junior year of HS. A girl I was dating then spent about a week in my house because her parents were on a vacation. It was about 11 PM when she told me she was hungry. I asked her what she wanted and she said eggs and pancakes. That was the first and only time I ever cooked someone a 3-course breakfast at midnight, and she told me that it was the sweetest thing someone has ever done for her. Once when I had no money, I gave my wife a free wish card. She was invited to use it whenever she wanted me to do something that she was unable to talk me into doing. She loved it. I shall not tell you how she used it. I needed this. I needed to know this kind of love and devotion was real. Last night I had to call the police on my fiancé. After 5 years of living together and being a family, he drank a half a liter of vodka and told me how he really felt about me. That I was draining him and that my kids treat him like he's worthless. They worship him, and I have always seen our relationship as a loving partnership. But I guess he didn't it that way and had been bottling resentment toward our invasion on his life the entire time. He made sure I got the message by destroying everything in the house. Everything. Then he proceeded to try to kill himself because not living at all would be a much better end than having to look at me and my children any longer. So I needed this post and all the beautiful responses it got. I needed to know that love was real and not just some fairy tale I had made up in my head. Cooking. Both my boyfriend and I love to cook, so we always prepare meals for each other, especially during stressful times. When I have to study for exams, I can't tell you how special and loved I feel when my boyfriend would take the initiative to make dinner on his own after giving me a kiss, telling me not to worry about anything and to just concentrate on my studies. When he's having a long day at work, I like to have his favorite meals ready for him once he comes home. Honestly, I am so lucky to have a partner who not only enjoys my cooking but is a pretty dang good cook himself. I like this exchange. I brought her lunch at work and bought her a small and cheap bracelet she previously told me about. Surprise her with something random unexpected. A few years ago, late December, I was talking to my girlfriend on the phone and she said she wasn't feeling too good. So I decided to make her some tomato soup and grilled cheese. I ended up foiling it up and walking it down to her house. About 2 miles. It was snowing like heck and I'll say close to 9:30 PM. I remember it like it was yesterday. The expression on her face was embedded into my head. I have always tried to do what I can to make her smile, and that in itself is its own reward. Promise to give them a foot massage every night possible for the rest of your lives together. I did that about 3 years ago to my then girlfriend. We're married now. The promise stands. When we first started dating, whenever I had a moment alone with her phone, I used to leave my then girlfriend love notes on her cell phone as contacts in the phone book or calendar reminders on a future date. I'd occasionally get an SMS with just a smiley or something, and knew she'd found one. When I was performing my civil service in a hospital, after I was done with typing dictations, I'd use my break to write her a letter in the patient management system. I'd place it in the outgoing mailbox, and she got a plain brown envelope with no return address or stamp, but with a love letter, and often a crude drawing of a cuddly animal inside. She insists that she was surprised every time. On our first wedding anniversary I found out she'd written all of my aforementioned phone notes and all the SMSs I sent her in a notebook that she stores together with all the letters, postcards and notes I've written her. I immediately got a piece of trash in my eye. Oh god, not again. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.